Hello, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name's Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk about, a very touchy topic, which is why all the hate for the MCU? Well, not quite why the hate, but why do people want the MCU to come to an end? Now, I had a request from a subscriber to talk about why is it okay to talk shit about Captain Marvel, but why is it not okay to talk shit about Wonder Woman? And I kind of came to the conclusion that, you know what, while I'm touching on this topic, I might as well do a full-length video on something that I have already noticed in the business and on YouTube, on comment sections, different YouTubers, but mostly people in the industry, which is there is this growing feeling like people want the MCU to come to an end. Now, the thing is, it's not so bad to where people aren't rooting for the MCU, where people aren't going to see the MCU movies, it's you know what I mean? It's not one of those situations, but if you look around, especially as Endgame gets closer, you can feel more people kind of going, geez, this is great. I'm going to come and support this, but I kind of hope Marvel there's many different nuances to this, why people want the MCU to either come to an end or take a step back after Endgame. And there are people who honestly, there are different people. I'm going to go through the list of the different perspectives on why people kind of want the MCU to come to an end. Now, there are the people who think that it doesn't get any better than what they have already done. So they just, by, elimination, they just want the MCU to not, what's the word I'm looking for? The MCU, in sports, sometimes an athlete can stay beyond his welcome. And he'll be over the hill and not know it. And by the time he realizes he's over the hill, he's done already crushed the team. So in a sense, there are people who are innocent who are like, look, Marvel, you can never get to this height again. So maybe you should just end the MCU, go back to making individual movies that are isolated movies, and, so that you can keep things fresh. And those people, I understand, I disagree with you, but I understand. Then there are people who are genuinely like, okay, I am tired. All right, Marvel, I've been with you. Then there are people who think that it should start over because they believe that making people think that they have to watch multiple movies to understand the full context of things that are going on is gonna eventually catch up to them. So they should probably start over so that they can introduce new audiences to Marvel. So that way they can, do it over again and just introduce new audiences to Marvel. Those people I understand as well. But then there are people who are either they hate the fact, and it's a lot more, and it's more, and these is really DC fans, or DCEU fans to be more specific, DC fans and, critics and film people who really aren't the hugest fans of comic book movies to begin with. Those people really want the MCU to come to an end for either creative reasons, or because they think it's stagnant, or because they think that it's not hurting viewing habits, but because it's taking up a spot for a quote unquote more artistic, more creative, more original movie. And they want the MCU to come to an end so that spot can open up for that movie. And then you have the DC fans, not all DC fans, but just the DCEU fans who actually blame Marvel for the failure of the DCEU, who blame Marvel for why the DCEU, why Justice League, why BVS wasn't well taken, why all these movies weren't well liked, who hate Marvel, who think that if the MCU never existed, that DC would be this bright, shining, huge universe that Marvel is, who hate the fact that Marvel is shining so high while DC is still, just chugging along, and they're making money and they're making movies, but they're not as beloved as Marvel right now. Like, at this current moment, I can make the argument that Thanos, no matter what Darkseid does in the comic books, no matter what Darkseid does in the nerd culture, highly regards Darkseid as a much better villain, than Thanos. But in pop culture, in the public eye, Thanos will always be thought of as a much bigger villain than Darkseid, and that shit kind of rubs people the wrong way. Loki will always be considered a bigger villain than a lot of the other villains because of the MCU. The MCU has elevated it. Like, I remember when Iron Man came out. And people love Robert Downey Jr. and they started elevating Iron Man to almost the same status as Batman and Superman. Every DC fan came out and was like, no, he can't fight. Batman, get him out of that suit. And like, they were attacking the very notion that Iron Man would be considered as cool or popular as a villain, even in the same stratosphere as Batman and Superman, which I don't think he is which I think he's in the same atmosphere as Batman and Superman. They're higher, but he's in the same air as them. He's in the same breath as them now. And that rubbed a lot of DC fans the wrong way. They could accept Spider-Man being in the same breath as them. They could accept Wolverine being in the same breath as them. But when Marvel started building these characters from nothing, not nothing, because you had Captain America and Thor, but when Marvel started taking these characters and elevating them, it automatically started rubbing a lot of the DC people the wrong way, because these characters were below them. And now, Captain America and Superman are in the same breath. Thor is in the same breath with all of them. You know what I mean? Like, the Guardians of the Galaxy are perhaps the most well-known, or pretty much one of the most well-known comic book groups on the planet now. And to think about that, and it's like, wow. And it really rubbed DC fans the wrong way, because I can honestly tell you right now, someone comment below, do you think DC fans / DCEU fans, and it's a small minority of people who feel this way, so don't take it out of context completely, do you think they would still feel as strongly against the MCU if the DCU had succeeded? Because I don't think they would have. I think they would have been saying, there would have been people like little douchebags going, oh, it's better and whatnot. But it wouldn't have been as anger behind it. Because, every 5 seconds you see someone in a chat going, oh, well, the Marvel just tells jokes and it's just joke city for children, Disney's owned. Yet, Shazam just came out today, and that movie has a child, has nothing but jokes in it. It is a Marvel movie. Shazam and Aquaman were both MCU-like movies. They weren't DCU-like movies. They were MCU-like movies with jokes and gags and all this shit galore. But nobody brought it up. You didn't see a single DC fan go, why are all these jokes in there? You didn't see a single, even in Justice League when they were shoving jokes in there, no one said anything. Which is bringing me to the big topic, is that Marvel has become too big for its own good. Not for its own good, it's just become too big for certain fans, because everyone remembers when the Avengers come out. People were rooting for Marvel. And the thing is, when the first Avengers were coming out, all comic book people, DC, Marvel, independents, were rooting for this. But now Marvel has surpassed everything that you ever thought they were going to be able to do. So now, what do? You have to root against them. Marvel has become the Golden State Warriors. They have become John Cena. They have become the Yankees, okay? It is the biggest money-making franchise in the history of film, okay? Put that in perspective. It is still 10 years, almost a decade in, the highest grossing franchise of all time. Just last year, 3 of the MCU movies combined for $4 million. I believe. Was it 4 million? Or was it close to 4 million? Let me see. Yeah. 3 of them almost combined. Either almost or did combine for $4 million. Oh, my bad. Billion. I forgot the B. $1 billion. And they are just ruling the box office. When Kevin Feige sneezes, it catches headlines. And the thing is, it has rubbed so many different people different ways. And it's not that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is making movies. It's how much money, how much appraise, how much attention that they get. That movies but that's from the DC fans, from the comic book fans who just want to fight perspective. But from the film perspective, A lot of film people, and I'm not gonna point, and like I'm gonna just point out a couple of them. I am a guy who follows Collider, who follows Screen Junkies and things like that. I follow a couple other guys too, and I can tell when I'm watching them, because I watch them all the time. When I'm watching them, that there are certain the nerds are down for this. Anybody from like Comic Game and Movie, I mean the anybody from like Collider Heroes or Marvel Movie News or anything of that nature, Hyper RPG, anyone from any of these channels that are like nerds who love these, who like watching comic book things, who are comic book people, they are cool with the MCU. They're cool with the MCU going on forever. But the film people, and I've seen them on different things, they are not turned on the MCU, but they're just like, yeah, as long as the MCU is around, that like none of these other movies are gonna get shine, or at least not the shine that they think that they deserve. Like movies like Green Book and all those other movies, those Oscar-nominated movies, like none of them are gonna get that shine. As long as the MCU is around, those movies aren't making anything. And I think it does rub a bunch of people the wrong way. And like a lot of film goers the wrong way. They're either tired, or they just want something new, or they just want it gone. So there's so many factors, or so many things being thrown at the MCU right now. And it's so funny how people, and the thing is, I'm gonna just give this short and sweet. The reason I love the MCU, the reason I fell in love with the MCU, and Marvel, and Marvel's really changed my perspective on movies. It's really changed my perspective on nerddom. Because the first Avengers movie, when I saw that in theaters, I saw it in theaters when I was 16. Saw it in theaters. I saw it opening day. It's actually the first movie I ever saw opening night. That Thursday night, the first showing I could see. And I remember feeling like when I was growing up, I didn't really talk about the nerdy stuff. I kept the nerdy stuff to myself. I played video games, but when I was around friends, I usually played sports games. And I talked about nerdy things, but I never really talked about comic books. Loved comic books, read comic books all the time. Loved Marvel, watched Marvel shit all the time. Watched the original X-Men, watched Batman animated series. But I never wanted to talk about it because it was just kind of like not cool to talk about, because The Dark Knight had came out already, but The Dark Knight was taken so seriously that it was like, oh, well, unless you're talking about like a serious comic book thing, it really wasn't worth talking about. The Avengers changed everything for me. When the Avengers came out and I saw so many people supporting it, and I went to that event and saw all these people from my school and saw all these people from across the world, on YouTube, loving this movie, appraising this movie, a movie that wasn't ashamed to be comic booky, that it didn't have anyone in leather, it didn't have organic webbing, because how could someone come up with web shooters? It didn't have Batman, it didn't have Ra's al Ghul not having a Lazarus pit, or Joker not having the gas, or it was true comic booky. It was it was Thor and the hammer, it was the Hulk smashing, it was Captain America in a comic book accurate suit that looked a little goofy at the time, but has since become sort of a classic suit. It was Iron Man in all his glory. It was the most comic booky thing I've ever seen and embraced. And that movie, The Avengers, to me, I hold to the highest regard. That movie changed everything for me. That movie showed me that not only could you be a nerd, but it's okay to be a nerd. It's okay to love this shit. And not only that, but it made it that other people thought that it was okay to be a nerd now. Like now, if you go and watch The Avengers or something, no one will bat an eye at you. No one will bat an eye at you. It influenced my life. And ever since then, I have had this love for the MCU. I've had an unabashed love for the MCU. And I just love the story of the MCU. They started from the bottom with characters that nobody wanted. That's the funny thing. When these people come out and attack the MCU and pretend like they're just these giants, it's like, no. They did this with the characters that no studio wanted to buy. I don't know if you guys know this. Some people don't know this. But the MCU, the first Iron Man movie, was made off of leverage money. Basically, they put all their fucking rights to all the characters that you see now up for, you could just have them all to Paramount to help them fund Iron Man. And if the movie sucked, they would have lost everything. The MCU was built off the back of huge balls. People forget that when the Avengers was coming out, there were articles just scattered all over the place saying how stupid and how terrible an idea this is. People forget when Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out with James Gunn attached to it, how insane of an idea that was. People forget how so many of these things, Civil War, are there too many characters? People forget just how ridiculous, just how much of a huge chance and a huge risk the entirety of the MCU is. And the thing is, me and Seth talk about this all the time. People are taking the MCU for granted. And when it's gone, you will never see anything like it again. DC won't be able to do it again. No one else. The only people who can do it is DC. And they seem to be going away from that because they've been terrified into the fucking dirt to do it again. So it might be years before you see DC ever even attempt this again. So when the MCU goes away, there will never be another universe like it. There will never be a consecutive streak of 20-something movies that are all fresh and all made profit. There will never be a consecutive thing of 20-something movies leading into one narrative that actually lives up to the hype that you want it to. This will never happen again. You'll never get another producer like Kevin Feige, who just so happened to be not only a film guy, but who happened to be a comic book guy, who also got to work on X-Men and Spider-Man. Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel Studios, who also got to work on X-Men and Spider-Man, so he saw the shit that didn't work, so he saw the shit not to do. That's just a rarity. That's just a moonshining. You'll never get casting like Robert Downey Jr. that just fits the thing. Like, the MCU is this beautiful thing that shouldn't have happened. And it did. It's the Rocky story. It's literally the Rocky story. And now everyone wants it to end. And now people want to turn on it. And now people want to talk shit about it. And now people want to go, oh, it ain't really all that big of a deal. Or now people want to say, of course, it's a Marvel movie. Well, guess fucking what? They have earned this. Okay? I think Shazam is going to be a good fucking movie. But guess goddamn what? Once Endgame comes out, Shazam is gone. It is erased from the entirety of any conversations, because this movie is going to take it all up. All the way up until the next Marvel movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, comes out. So that's what's gonna happen. And everyone's mad, everyone's hating, but the simple answer to answer the question that one of my subscribers asked, the reason that it's okay to talk shit about Captain Marvel, and that's not okay to talk shit about Wonder Woman, is because Captain Marvel is a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the biggest franchise in the world, the John Cena franchise. So, it's okay to talk shit about her because the MCU can take it. Because the MCU can take it because it's this big corporate thing that it wasn't. But now, since it's, since they let you rise only to watch you fall. And DC was being shitted on. And like Wonder Woman's like one of the only bright things in it, other than Shazam that just came out. And I don't even count Aquaman, because Aquaman had like a 64% and a 70% audience score. So it's not like you motherfuckers loved it to death either. It made all its money overseas. Like you take half that money overseas, it don't even get 700. So like I said, that is why it's okay to talk shit about Captain Marvel and not talk shit about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a part of DC. People was desperate for DC to get a win. So they overlook any flaw in the movie. They overlook the third act. They overlook the blatant sexism / real, actual, SJW shit in Wonder Woman to attack this that doesn't even have anything SJW in it. It's just, it just is what it is. Thank you for joining me in the Comic Game Movie Show. Comment below. Why do you think people want the MCU in it? And are people taking the MCU for granted? I personally think they are. Please comment below. Let me know. Thank you for joining me in the Comic Game Movie Show. And I'll see you in the next one.